What is up, homies? My name is Felix, and I am here back again with another video for you all today. I'm not centered. And in this one, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make these rage type beats that everybody's making. All these youngsters are out here making these rage type beats after that song with Trippie and Playboi Carti came out. But yeah, so these beats are actually pretty simple to make. There's only a couple, secret little things here and there that I'm going to show you guys. And I'm sure there's also a million other tutorials on these beats right now because it's a very poppin' kind of style. But anyways, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along the playlist of songs I produced, my Beatstorm, my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you'd like to do so. And now we can get into this little tutorial. Okay, so here we are inside of FL Studio, and the first thing we're going to work on is the melody, because that's like the most iconic part of this sound. So with the melodies for these beats, at the very bare bones minimum, you're going to have essentially two things. You're going to have a very bright, abrasive kind of pad, and then you're also going to have that slidey portamento lead thing going on. So I'm actually going to use two pads for this. I'm going to use one from Expand and one from Hybrid 3, and I'm basically going to layer them on top of each other, but I'm going to show you guys the type of sounds that you want to look for. Alright, so I got Hybrid 3 here. I actually made a little preset for this, but I'm going to show you how to make your own. So you're basically going to want something that sounds like this. So I got this kind of sound by just picking a random pad preset, and then I went to the first oscillator and changed it to square sync, and then with the second oscillator I made it a saw wave. Third one I left it off, but if you want you can turn the third oscillator on and make it a square wave or a saw wave. Also, it's probably important to mention that you don't need Hybrid to do this, to get this sound. Hybrid's like a $15 plugin, but you can do this with anything that has oscillators. You can do it in Citrus if you want. Basically just make it the default preset and then just do like this, make it a square wave, and then this one you can make it more of a saw wave. And this will work just fine. You can also use triple oscillator or whatever other thing you want to use. But wait, there's more. There's one more pretty important thing that you should do if you want to achieve this kind of sound. So what you should do is basically go to where it says Sense, or depending on what you're using, it might say Detune. If there's a Detune knob, just turn the Detune knob down. But basically you just want to drag the Sense thing down just a little bit so that you get a real nice detuned kind of sound with this. So now that we have this, I'm going to start building some chords. With your tempo, you probably want to have it anywhere from like 140 to like 160. Obviously, it's completely up to you, but that's kind of the general range of these beats. But when it comes to your chord progression, you want to have some very full sounding chords. So you're definitely going to want some 7th chords, maybe even toss in some 9th chords if you're feeling a little fancy. And other than that, there's really not a whole lot of specifications on what you should or shouldn't do when you're making the chord progression, because I feel like the thing that really grabs people's attention with these beats is that slidey little lead thing that I'm going to show you guys how to do in a minute. So yeah, I'm going to make a quick little chord progression and then I'll get back to you guys. Alright, so I just made this chord progression. It sounds like this. Super basic, it's literally just 3 chords. This chord and this chord are both the same, except for one of them is just an inversion. I just did that to give it a little bit of a different feel, and then also we've got the bass notes from the chords in here. And you basically just hold down Control, Shift, and then select these. Then Shift click it over, and then hit Control and then down on the arrow keys. So now that we have the chord progression down, I'm going to show you guys how to do the most important part of this video, which is the slidey lead thing. So what you're going to want to do is search for some square wavy type lead. You want it to have kind of a harsh sound, but you want it to have a little bit of a different feel from the pad. So something like this would work just fine. Something like this would work just fine. It doesn't really matter what lead you choose. It just matters that it fits well with the pad that you already have, and also don't forget to detune it just a little bit as well. But you don't have to pick any sort of, specifically portamento slide lead inside of your plugin or anything, because what you're going to do is once you've selected what lead you want to use, you're just going to go in here and play like 2 bars or 4 bars of C. And you want to keep the velocity like pretty medium. And now once you have your lead playing C for however long you think you need, you're basically going to solo out the lead, and then you're going to go to your master track right here and then click on this little dot. And now what you can do is hit Alt and then R and then click OK and everything, and it'll export it out as just an audio file now. And now you're gonna have this inside the channel rack. And personally what I like to do is take this and drag it in here. And the reason I do that is because for this one you can see that there's just these 2 tabs, and this one doesn't really do anything. But this one right here, when you drag in a duplicate, it adds this tab right here, which gives you an envelope and you have control over the panning and the pitch and everything. And I just like that a little bit better, because what I usually like to do is turn on the envelope and then do the attack all the way down, this one up, this one down, this one up, and this one down. And this basically just gives you complete control over whatever sound you're using. So even though this is 2 bars or 4 bars long, however long you made it, once you stop playing the key, it'll also stop. And now what you want to do is go into your piano roll and look at what notes that you have inside your chords. So at first you basically just want to start out with 1 note, and you can just put in a note right here like this, and then you want to hit S on your keyboard like this. And now this gives you a slide note. So now basically it'll slide from this one to this one. And obviously that's the kind of sound that we're looking for here. So one important thing that you want to know about these slide notes is that the length of the actual slide note affects how fast it's gonna slide into that note. So the way that it works is that the end of the slide note right here is the point when it's gonna actually be the true note that it's playing. So in this case, that's B. So weirdly enough, this whole slide note is not actually even playing B. It's basically just everything in between that E and that B. So for however long you continue this original note, it'll keep playing this B note on top, or whatever other notes we wanna slide to. So we can do stuff like this, and then obviously it goes through these two notes as well. But with the slides here, you probably don't want to do it super frequently like this. You're probably going to want to let it hang on a specific note for a while, and then have the slide come in just at various different points. So something like this is probably fine. And then obviously just continue on with variations of that pattern. Nothing too crazy. You don't want to have anything like this going on. If you want to, you can do this if you like the way it sounds. It's all just pretty much up to you and how you like it to sound. So I'm just gonna mess around with this a little bit until I get a lead pattern that I like. Okay, so I got this going on right now. It sounds pretty nice. So the sound that I'm gonna layer the pad with sounds like this. And as you can hear, it's a very big, bright, classic kind of pad sound. And you can probably find a sound like this in pretty much any plugin. Now, before we add any extra sounds, I'm gonna do the drums. The drums are really simple on these type of beats. There's not a whole lot that you have to do. If you want a pretty distorted sounding Beethoven 808, you know, just the classic one that everybody probably has. And then you wanna use either a clap that sounds kind of like this, or this snare right here. And then for the hi-hats, you can pretty much use whatever hi-hat you want. It doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna use like a pretty basic trap hi-hat. So with your clap and snare, it's gonna be the pretty basic pattern that everybody knows and loves, where you have it pretty much just like this. And then with your 808, it's gonna be a pretty simple pattern, nothing really too crazy. But the one thing you gotta make sure you do is this right here. Because the 808 simply has to slap you in the face. You gotta turn the volume up to like 11 for this. But then from this point, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is copy the root notes of the chords and just make a pretty simple pattern. And now for your hi-hats, you basically have two options. You can pretty much just do the fill each 2 steps, the standard procedure like this. And then you can either keep it like this and add some rolls or something, which will work just fine. Or what you can also do is add kind of like a stuttery pattern. And basically you can just go like this. It's totally up to you, just some variation of this. What you could do is just hit fill each 2 steps and then just get rid of whichever ones don't sound good for the stuttery kind of pattern. So, you know, just do a little something like this. So honestly, at this point, we're pretty much done. There's not a whole lot more that's usually in these beats. You can obviously maybe add an open hi-hat in there if you want. You can add maybe some percussion sounds. Totally up to you what you want to add. The only thing that I'm definitely going to add is a couple more melody sounds. But if you were to just keep it like this, as we have it right now, it would be perfectly fine, and you'd be pretty much done with this whole tutorial. So as far as laying out the beat goes, all you really got to do is do one of these where you put the melody in the beginning as the intro, and then you don't even really need to add like a crash or a riser or anything. You obviously can if you want to, but just basically have the melody play in the beginning and then just do one of these. One thing I would definitely recommend so that the beat doesn't get too repetitive is maybe taking out the slidey lead at certain points. So maybe like right here or something. And then just have a little break or something, bring it back in, and then just add like another 32 bars and then, you know, 16 bars at the end and just fade it out. And you'll be pretty much good to go. And that's one of the easiest layouts that you can possibly do. So as far as mixing, you're probably just gonna wanna add a little bit of reverb onto each one of the sounds. And then I basically always put an EQ on each and every melodic component so that we can EQ out frequencies that we don't need. And for this, you don't wanna cut out a whole lot of high end, because I'll show you what happens if you do that. When you start cutting out a lot of high end, it gives it a very like filtery kind of sound, and it gets rid of a lot of that harshness that we kind of want with this type of style. As you can hear, so we want to keep as much of that high end as possible. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. This is a pretty simple one, not a whole lot of crazy stuff going on here. These beats are honestly really simple to make, but I think they sound quite nice, and everybody else seems to think so as well because it's a very popular style right now. So yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below. Also, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I produce, my beats on my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you guys want to, and I will see you guys next time.
Feezo. inside my dome. Oh, I need to let these demons out of here.